Well, it's Sunday. We're gonna break down some tires. Did a side job this morning. We're gonna put these 14-inch aluminum slots on those tires for the front of this car. These ones don't have the correct offset I want to use, and they're too short. So we're gonna make some changes. All right, we're gonna get started. So it's Monday evening after work. Today, we're gonna work on cleaning up that cylinder head, and we're gonna discuss an issue. This little motor right here. Typical small block Chevy. And this motor sums up why I am a Ford guy. We'll discuss that later though. We're going to clean up this cylinder head. And we'll see what happens. Don't mind the shitty shifter holder. We got to re-weld that some more and make some brackets. But right now we're going to make a console, sort of, come from here down to hold the gauges. And a cup holders, 2 cup holders, and some gauges out of aluminum. Let's see what we can do. So this is kind of like what we want it like. Back in there to there. Our gauges, our cup holder, our charger. So now we got to make this into metal. We're going to use aluminum so it's light. So this is our piece of aluminum. We're going to trace it out and make our center console out of this. Let's see what we can do. I believe it's a 1/16 or so. I don't know how thick it is. I'll check. I'm gonna start tracing things to make this into what I need. Alright, so we got her laid out. Cup holder, phone charger, oil pressure, mounting area, temperature, training temperature, AFR gauge. I think that'll work. I think what I'm going to do next is drill these holes. I changed this up a little bit. I'm only going to make those 3 inches. Those are going to be 2 inches. Those are going to be 2.5 inches. And we'll check the gauge. Make sure it all fits. Check the charger we've got. We're going to find some hole saws. Some vice grips to clamp this baby down. Go to work. Alright, the shop's a total wreck. But the Chevy motor is gone. This is the start of our console, what we're doing here. Doesn't look so good now, but I hope the finished product looks a lot better. We got to make 2 mounting holes here, here, and 1 here. 4 total. 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom. So I'm going to mark where these holes go on the back side. And see if I can get this to work. Alright, so that's what it's sort of going to look like. Now we're going to finish the shifter. We got to do a lot of cleaning up and welding on there. 2 studs for the console. And it should be coming along. Then we gotta cut them things out of the floor, both of those. And the 2 hooks in the back. We'll cut those after we get the back window out though, and we roll these windows down. I don't think these will go down all the way though, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, we'll cover them up with something. I don't want to get sparks on the glass there. But I think that's where we are. We're going to get the shifter finished, get the console done, see how it looks. And then we got to do some more work under the floor up there. We might give this floor a quick paint job. I don't know yet. We got a couple big holes we got to put plugs in. But I think it'll work. We got to take a measurement for carpet. Well, the floor's done. We got her all welded up, primered, sealed up, lubed up. Whatever you want to call it. We used some brush-on bed liner coating, and then some paint and some primer. We put Duraglass on all the seams. Hopefully when it's all said and done, we won't have no exhaust coming through. Got our 2 studs for our center console. Got our shifter mount. So hopefully when we come back Thursday, we'll be back Thursday. Hopefully we can take out the windows, start getting it ready for the guy to come Saturday and do the headliner, and then put the windows back in. Hopefully by then, by Thursday, this floor is dry enough I can get my butt in there and start doing some stuff. And we'll see what happens. So far, so good, though. The drag and drive cheap Falcon is working. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully, it does everything we need it to do and then some. Alright, we're working on the electrical stuff. I'm at home. This is where I work on RC cars and different things. So this is a list of our electrical for the Falcon. The stuff in red is the aftermarket stuff. All of this is pretty much what the car would have had anyways. So first thing, the gauge cluster. I believe this is out of a Comet. Not 100% sure, but I believe it is. And this is what was in the car. This is what we're going to use. So first thing I like to do, let's look at the back. We have our gauges, turn signal tubes, high beams, low beams, and all the goods. Lights, speedometer. I like to get a pen and I mark what all these are. That way, when I'm up under the dash, I don't have to go front to back. I know what each light is and where they go. And I know somewheres. So to keep things simple, we got a marker. We'll mark things and we'll see what happens. Alright, so we went through. We marked our dash, what each hole does, what each gauge does. This is your voltage regulator, I guess you would call it, for the gauges. The factory gauges, there's only 2. We're only using 1. I always take a flashlight Shine it through. Generator. If you know this type of vehicle, shine your flashlight through. Generator. Oil. High beam. That little red thing's a little boogered up. Blue, whatever color it is, it's missing. Turn signal. So all that'll work. We're not 100% sure of this voltage regulator. We'll test it once we get going. This piece is pretty good. We're not using the factory temp gauge. We're not using a generator, oil, fuel. We will put sockets in both of these. Just to keep them from letting the dash lights out, because it only has 2 lights. And the rest of these we're going to use this one, this one, this one, this one, this, and this. We're not even going to use the factory temp gauge. It won't be hooked up, nothing. This is where our flasher goes. I don't think our LED flasher will go in there, but we might see. And I think we got to put a couple screws in it, here and here. It looks like 2 screws are missing that actually hold it together. So we'll probably put a couple screws in it. We're not really going to clean it up. This sucker's heavy. I wish I had a Falcon one, but it is what it is. Alright, next up we're going to start splitting the wire harness. Get rid of all the stuff we don't need and see how we're going to do that. This is our factory under dash wire harness. Well, we're missing the plug for the back of the ignition switch. We know that. We have some add-ons that we're not sure what they're for or why they're added on. This fine mess here. This is literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 4 wires into 1 wire, which goes to this, which goes to 2 wires. This is a good wire that goes over to this button. This button was how the car started. Somebody put this in, I didn't put it in. When I got the car, this was in there, and it looks like they just recently put it in. Might still use this for the horn button, I think. Again, we're trying to go cheap. We don't want to buy nothing that we don't need. So we're going to clean all this up, take all the tape off, get rid of everything we don't need. We don't need a radio. We don't need any of that stuff. Pick out our best light sockets. Clean up this fuse box. Draw a little diagram of what's what on it so we know which ones we can use for the aftermarket stuff and where we got to add fuses. And we'll see where that goes. Alright, so to start, we're going to take this stuff off. We know this isn't factory. This isn't factory. This may be factory. We'll have to see what that is. But from here to here and these, none of this is factory. So this is what we're going to start with. To see what we got going on here. So I'm gonna cut that off. Cut that off. That takes care of that mess. These are the ones that go through the dash. Or out to the engine bay. I think one of these are for turn signals and going to the back, different things. Probably should order a wiring schematic so we know what we got here. So we're going to do some research on a wiring schematic. We know this ain't factory, but it's tied into a dash light, sorta. So we're just gonna untwist that. Hopefully we can use this if we can salvage it. Okay, I believe this is the pink resistor wire for the dash, I think. Or it was the pink resistor wire for the ignition. It goes into that harness, comes out here, goes into this, then it goes into there. Alright, let's get a schematic. Alright, we got all the factory tape stuff. Some of it was factory, some of it was from previous owners off of the dash harness. We got a lot of cut wires, spliced wires. We took all that off. So now we're gonna start taking all the factory wires we don't need. We gotta clean up the fuse block so we can see what goes where and what we're still going to use and how many fuses we need to add. Probably would have been better to start with a fresh one, aftermarket harness or something, but there's very few electrical circuits in this car that aren't factory. I think all I have is some gauges and a fan. We're trying to keep it very simple, very cheap. So, the old wise tale, time is money, is true when you're working on somebody else's stuff. When you're working on your own stuff, parts I have laying around in my time are the best way I personally can save money. So, instead of messing with remote control cars and whatnot in the morning, I'm messing with this. But there is something I want to talk about. So, I recently sold a 350 Chevy on Facebook Marketplace, and it was a debacle. I'm a Ford guy. My first car was a Ford. All the parts I have laying around are Ford, so we have Fords. I'm not a Chevy person, Dodges. I have Ford parts. I like Fords. And to give a description as to why. Personally, because I've always had Fords. I just fell into them and that's what stuck. People-wise, people that like GM products are crazy. They need investigated. They are literally nut jobs. So I sold a rebuilt 302 a month ago. $3,500. Just what I had in it. I put it on Marketplace. Had a few messages. A couple of guys drove out. The first guy who came and looked at it purchased it. Walked around, looked at all the paperwork. No questions asked, nothing. Handed me my money. We loaded it in his pickup truck. 3 hours back home. Listed a small block Chevy. I had no use for it. Tired of sitting around the shop. A couple of buddies were interested in it. Nothing ever came through, so I listed it. Run-of-the-mill, bone stock. Had an aluminum intake. Nothing fancy. 4,000 messages. How fast is it? How much horsepower does it have? What did it come out of? Is it a 4-bolt main? What are the cylinder heads? What are these? I was asking $300 for it. I don't know. Can we tear it apart? Can we take off the oil pan? Can we take off the heads? I need to know if it's stock pistons. I have a camera. We can put down a spark plug hole. It rotates. That's all I can tell you. It's $300. First guy comes and looks at me. That's not the right water pump. This is a blah, 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 and it's out of a whatever, and that's a 72 water pump. This is a 63 blah, blah, blah. What is the deal? It's a small block Chevy. It's not out of a Corvette. It's not out of a truck. It came out of the back of my pickup truck from a guy's garage floor. I know no history. I know nothing about it. But you get a Ford guy and he wants a small block Ford. He wants a small block Ford. A Chevy guy, he wants this water pump, that, this, that. That's the difference. They're just crazy. I finally did sell the motor to a guy who's going to put it in a demolition derby car. Very simple. He walked around, looked at it, and said, I'm going to give it a try. But he wasn't a Chevy guy. He was just a demolition derby guy. Them diehard Chevy guys, I don't care if the water pump belongs on a Camaro, a Nova. Who cares? It's on the car. It's on the motor. It bolts up. It fits. It works. What kind of car are you putting it in? An S10. Why do you care if it has a Nova water pump if you're putting it in an S10? They're amazing people. Parts you can't even see, they're worried about. So in hindsight, stick with Ford. The debacle we had this week with selling a Chevy just proves to me Chevy people are crazy. Next week, starting Friday, this week we have birthday parties and stuff. It's been a pretty hectic week again. I have to get the windows out and the headliner out of the Falcon. I got a guy coming Saturday. He's going to put in a new headliner and set the new windshield in and the back window back in it. The floor's done. Hopefully next week I'll show you the finished center console, and I hope to get back to work on my truck for a few things while he's doing the window and headliner Saturday. Steady progress wins the race, they say. So hopefully here, around the first of the year, we have some things done. Got all the gibberish off of here. We got to box up some sold parts. Remember, like and subscribe Side Money Garage. Ask some questions. Give us some comments. Tell us what we should do with this spaghetti. We did have to buy some magnifying glasses because we're old. But until next time, do something already, will ya?